every fiber in my body is preventing me from making this video because I really don't want to do what I'm about to do. What I'm about to do is apply for some jobs. I have a really hard time getting my body to do that because it feels just like doing homework to me, and homework is the thing that I hate the most because it just kind of feels like you're doing busy work for something that you will not be rewarded for. And of course, there is great potential for the rewards you can get from getting a job, but it is a very discouraging path a lot of the time. And that is something that I hope we can overcome in today's video, because I have had a good handful of jobs, and that does mean I do have some experience getting jobs. And so I want to shed some light on those experiences, and hopefully this video can be helpful for yours truly as well, in order to encourage myself to apply to some things today, just get that done. It's like 8:30 p.m. right now, and I still have to edit this video as well as apply to the said jobs that we're going to do right now. So let's get it started. And I think the biggest thing is just getting over that initial surge, accept that yes, this is essentially homework. What you're going to be doing is not fun, but you have done the bulk of the work already. You have put in the majority of the hours, whether that is in school, whether you're in high school right now, or maybe even younger, or you're in college, or you've graduated. You have put in the majority of the work. You have proven that you have the ability to work for whatever you're applying for, and you just have to put that on display. And that's often difficult to a certain degree, but the most time-consuming part of probably building that resume has just started. And even if you've never had a job before, you've still worked on things in your life in some way, and it's important to know how to write that into a resume. We can do a whole separate video on resumes, but for these purposes, I'm going to assume you already have a resume and maybe even a template for a cover letter. And not all jobs require a cover letter. Some of them do, or some of them require something more unique written, but that really depends on what you're applying for. So step one, gather up your courage, gather up your laziness and throw your laziness away, turn your phone off, and then get rid of all your distractions. So that's step one, and that's what I'm trying to get over right now. And then step two is kind of organizing your thoughts on, okay, what are you applying for? And so if you're just looking for a simple summer job, then there's a wide variety of things you can apply for. There's always going to be seasonal work, no matter what season. And if you're just looking for something temporary, I'd say, be as open-minded as you can, be flexible, be open to doing some hard, laborious work, because that can often be very rewarding and it can keep you in shape as well. I would say don't shy away from working with kids, even though that might not be something you're comfortable with. There are a lot of things to learn from that. So I'd say it doesn't necessarily have to be in your field if you're just doing a temporary job. It won't last too long, and you are bound to learn a lot from it. So kind of look at your options and kind of weigh what you can do or what you should do or what you feel best, because you can kind of divide into three categories. It's almost like applying to college, and even for those who have not been to college or don't plan on applying to things, the simple premise or the comparison that I'm making is that you want to have kind of like a dream school. So what would your dream job be? And if you don't know what that is, that's something to think about, but pointing steps on how to get there, and then kind of a goal realistic job, and then what can that be? What would that look like? And then you can have a backup job. And so that would be like your backup school. So like a simple, in the school example, that could be like a local community college, which would still be a great option, still sought to learn and make money from, while at the same time you have a much higher chance of getting in. So you want to weigh your options. You want to say, okay, would I be fine being like a person who bags groceries? That might not be your dream job or the job that you're aiming for, but it's a job nonetheless, and you'll learn something from it at the very least. And if you do need to start getting paid, that could be a good option for you still. So I'd say really don't knock on any job. There's still plenty of value to gain from everything and plenty of people to meet. So try and be as open-minded as you can and just kind of relinquish yourself from any biases you might have upon that. So in my case, I'd say I've always said my dream job would be like working for National Geographic and then traveling on the world and taking photos or something like that. And so it would be important for me to think about, okay, what are steps that I can take in order to start doing that? So maybe a more realistic goal would be like, okay, I can start looking at public or more local publications for magazines that might not do, wildlife photography, but, something similar. So something under the media realm where I can get more practice shooting photo and video in a more local scene, and the stakes aren't as high as finding the once in a lifetime shot of a very rare species of animal, but I'm just going to be taking product photography or something like that. So try and maybe find the steps, have your goal job be a potential step towards a final job. And that's really just an example because I'm pretty flexible as for whatever I do. So I think a dream job would be something that would just allow me to travel and be creative, and having something that's more vague of a goal can be more difficult sometimes because it's harder to know the steps to get to somewhere like that. So what I'll be applying for today will be like FEMA or Americore stuff where that'll allow me to travel around still and be able to help people, but it will be a little bit more different. I won't explicitly be taking photos, but I could maybe bring a camera and take photos on my off time during those sorts of jobs, but it would still be an organized way for me to learn and go do something. So those are my kind of goal jobs right now, and then I can kind of work on the traveling around and taking photos further on. And then at this current state, it kind of looks like if I were to do something under the Americore, it would be very likely that would start happening in the spring. And then essentially, I would have to suck it up, be a weak boy, and, find something temporary to do that may not be as fun or as enthralling, but it would still be a job to add to my resume and add further skills for myself. So, and those are typically more labor-oriented jobs, and I have had a handful of those. And I have learned good things from, both package delivery or groundskeeping. So, again, I don't want to shy away from those or disregard those as bad jobs, because any job is respectable, I think. So, that is kind of the process we will go through. So under a certain amount, yes, I would say getting a job is a lot like it's a bit of a numbers game. If you have a fairly basic, well built out resume, it can still be difficult to get a job sometimes just due to how many people are looking, pretty much always. And so I would say a few things is that, yeah, you can apply to a whole bunch of different things. And I think that that's typically the better option because you can pour your heart and soul into something. And let's just say someone didn't see it, or they just picked someone else first who was maybe a worse candidate than you, but they just didn't see what you were putting out. So I would say in most cases, you should play the numbers game. And I think you would know in that special case when you shouldn't be doing that, when you should be writing something super special. Those opportunities should be a little bit more obvious, and they may align more with your dream job sort of opportunity. Where if I was going to, I think National Geographic really only hires people case by case, and they don't have like a whole bunch of photographers on their payroll. But, if I wanted to go and show my best for the job that I really wanted to have, then hopefully that should be more clear to you, and you should pull up and shine your brightest. So I would say overall, try and play the numbers game a little bit, and then always be opportunistic. I think the times where you get hired most are when companies or when you come into the right place at the right time for a company where they like crucially need to hire someone quickly. And so you just have to be there and on top of it when those opportunities arise. So like, for example, I worked at a summer camp, like a kids summer camp, and the season had already started and some of their staff had quit kind of early on. And so earlier you would have seen the job listing, but it popped up later again. So if you're thinking about seasonal things, go ahead and say, okay, well, if it's a kids summer camp and they're hiring partway through summer, that'd be a good time to jump on that application because they're probably trying to hire someone as quickly as they can. And those summer camps aren't hiring like a giant excess of people, so they probably need someone really quickly. So, in that example, you could see, okay, yeah, I'm going to apply to this right now, and there's a good opportunity for me to start working next week because they need someone as soon as possible. I mean, same sort of thing for package delivery, where it's like if they're hiring someone still, partway through December, you may not have a job for super long, but they still need more people to hire on. So those are just things to look at. Look at the season and what you're applying for. And if you're just applying for a job for needing a job at that time, then I think that's what you remember. And even still, I think that can apply to larger things where if there's going to be a giant influx of people needing analysts or communications people or business people, if you're looking at the trends of what your specific kind of specialty is, then I think you can kind of latch onto the opportunities a lot quicker. So be aware of events that might be surrounding what people are doing who are doing your work, and seeing where you may be able to slide in there and take advantage of other people leaving those jobs. So be aware of the workforce you desire and then kind of pull out from there. And then I think even on Indeed, you can look at urgently hiring places. And, that's a good place to hop on, and that they will look at your resume a lot quicker at the very least, and you can get that rejection even faster. So those are good things to look out for. What else do we have? I'm really interested in traveling for my work, so I would say don't be afraid to go out of state or out of the country for your job. I have not had the opportunity to work super far out anywhere yet, but I really want to be able to take that chance. So if you're more of a homebody, or you're used to just getting up and going to work every day, this could be a good thing to look for in your everyday life. If you want to spice it up, I think going to a different country would be the most immediate way you can go and do that. And, I can't really speak on this too much myself, but it is a goal that I have to move and go somewhere else and just kind of turn a new page. Seattle is an awesome and cool place to work, but I know that there's plenty else to see in this world, and I want to go experience that. So I'd say if you want something refreshing, maybe look even further out of the scope of your current place. That's resume. And then I would say probably the final thing would be, even though I know it is very tiring when you come home from work and the last thing you want to do is go and apply to more jobs, that's probably going to be the best way to get yourself upgraded in terms of pay and what you want. So I'd say always be on the lookout for jobs and other opportunities, and know that you should always kind of pay yourself first in the privilege of what you're doing in your own life. And you don't really owe anything to the company that you're working for, because they'd be just as happy to drop you for someone who that they could pay less for. So I'd say always look for the next opportunity, even if you just kind of started working somewhere else. There's always going to be an upgrade. You could always be paid more. So definitely know your worth and be willing to swap to somewhere else when the opportunity arises. And, you may like the workplace and the people, but you can always get to a better place, and you can always keep contacts with people. And, as long as you're keeping good connections and you end things on good terms, a lot of people, or a lot of good workplaces at least, should be supportive of your transitions in life. And so, keeping those good work relations is always important to help you build your own resume and your own list of references to use for later. And I would say that'd be the last largest thing, is that Be on good terms with everyone, be on the same page as much as you can. Sometimes it can't be helped if you're in a really bad workplace, but I'd say if you know that you could be in a spot where you could have someone be a reference for you, having a good reference is always better than not being able to have a good reference. I don't know how many times that has been the make or break for me being hired or not, but I do think that is something to keep in mind from the start to finish of your job is, being friendly for everyone and being on the same page at the very least. So those are all the kind of bulk ideas that I have for going over getting a job. And you've just seen me applying to a whole bunch of things right now. So these are all things that I'll try and keep in mind, but really the most difficult part is just sitting down, filling out those applications to the best of your ability, and then just putting the time in to put in a lot of applications, because I do believe after you've kind of hit a certain threshold of skill, that it really is just a numbers game, and you just gotta keep rolling that slot machine until you hit the jackpot of getting a place to work that will try you out for your skills. So those are my little basics. Definitely check the description out where I have all these kind of bullet points written out as well. But other than that, happy job hunting, everyone. Sit down and apply to some stuff. Just clear your schedule, grind it out. I know it's not fun, but we can go over some resume and cover letter stuff in the future if need be. But, set your goals, work through those, and get working. All right. Bye.